What's good, Brewers? It's T. Shaw.
And this is Scholar P. And we want to welcome you to Brewin Black. Brewin Black is going to be giving you all the latest in Black news and entertainment. And we're doing this for our intellectuals, our millennials, and those who like their information like we like our news. How do we like it, T. Shaw? Black.
Black. Hey, I love the new intro. Like, man, we got something good here. We got something good. How you doing this week, bro?
Bro, this is it's a good week, man. Sending in applications, getting this second draft of the dissertation proposal done. One of these days, I want us to have a conversation for all the scholars out there who or the people who are very interested in the graduate school process and knowing what like dissertations and like grad school stuff is like. We're gonna have to have an episode about that one of these days.
Absolutely. Like grad school behind the scenes, right? Like what it takes to get in, right? But also what happens behind those scenes, what happens behind the doors when you get into the academia, you get into those institutions and what it feels like, what it smells like, and how that can impact you for better or for worse, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, my week's been solid too. Just again working, doing working for the people, right? I think that like it's always a fulfilling thing. So before we get into the show, like we like to do, got to do our land acknowledgments. So I want to shout out the land of the Gabrielino and the Tongva. This is stolen land. This is colonized land, and we will always pay those respects.
Absolutely. And we want to do a quick shout out to Tiger Woods. As many of you might know, he was in a pretty horrific car accident, but thankfully he is still with us. And so we just want to wish him a very speedy recovery, or as speedy as the recovery can be under the circumstances, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just seeing news like that is scary. I feel like I got my heart dropped just like it did when I got the news about Kobe. And I think
Right.
that it's a weird feeling. And it's like it just reminds me that we're all vulnerable, that this can happen at any day, any point in time. Just to cherish life. Like I'm glad we still have him with us, and I am sending well wishes as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that anytime a celebrity comes across my feed now and it's like a news headline, I assume the
Mhm.
worst. And
Yeah,
so
bro.
like you said, cherish them while you can.
Yeah, and give
But
the people the roses while you can.
oh, absolutely. Because I don't think that happens enough. You know what I'm saying? When
Mhm.
someone's passed away, of course, you can always respect their legacy, but so many people leave this earth without feeling like they've gotten their flowers, right?
Absolutely.
So to your point, make sure you give them their roses. And guess what? They don't even have to be legends like a Tiger Woods. Just anybody and you care about. Let them know
Mhm.
you're thinking about them, and that they're worthy in your life.
Preach.
Yeah. So with that being said, we also want to take this time to go into something that we like to call our light roast. Now, for those of you who don't know, our light roast is when we critique something or someone in society, but we also try to give some constructive feedback when it's possible and when it's relevant, because some of y'all don't deserve that constructive feedback. And we said what we said.
I
Um, so uh, uh, for those of you all who don't know, Cam Newton, someone that I have a lot of affection for, a former Carolina's Panther NFL player and now a former Patriots, New England Patriot. He was at his own camp, minding his own business.
know.
This kid started coming up and talking the smack. T-Shaw, will you break down the situation for the people?
Yeah, so Cam Newton, like a lot of our legends and our greats, holds camps to give back to the youth, to give them opportunities to shine, to get better, to get training, and just as a platform for their talents. So Cam Newton is walking on the sideline, enjoying his day, enjoying his camp. Didn't really even have to be there. And some young man hollers out like, "Hey Cam, you a free agent? You a free agent?" And Cam responds, like, "I'm rich. It's cool. I'm rich." He said, "You finna be broke. You finna be broke. You suck. You suck." And it just at some point it becomes out of hand. It's like he's recording it, and he kind of doing it for clout. Or maybe not he's recording it, somebody else is recording it. But it gives you a bad impression of the kid, right? It's like Cam wasn't really doing much. He's just straight heckling them for no apparent reason other than to just like, I guess, be a bully in a way. But I think knowing that this is Cam's camp is like, you have to be really bold, really, really bold to come out and just like flex on the person that really has given you an opportunity as somebody that has no stars. Like he's not a highly touted recruit. He's essentially nobody. And I think that when you do have that chip on your shoulder as an athlete, you are out to prove yourself. But I think this is not the way to go about it. I think if you're looking for publicity, I know there's the saying there's no such thing as bad publicity. But when nobody's talking about you at all, you definitely don't want them talking bad about you. So those are my first impressions. Were you able to see what kind of happened on the sideline too, Scholar P?
I wasn't able to see all of what happened on the sideline, but based on some of the conversations I've been having about it, I definitely agree. I think that I remember when Kyrie Irving was just joining the league. You know, he was sort of talking mess to Kobe, but not in a disrespectful manner. He was saying, "I'm going at you, Kobe. I want to compete with you. I got something to prove." And Kobe was like, "Look, man, the only reason I'm even entertaining you is because you got some talent and some skill." Yeah. And I think that type of competitive fervor is what you sort of hope for as the athlete who has something to prove and as the person who's already proved it. And I think there could have been a great moment for a passing of the torch and things of that nature, but it was like you sort of ruined that and your opportunity because now people know you for your mouth and not necessarily for your game, right?
Absolutely.
Bro. And look, old boy is not a media pundit. He doesn't have a podcast. People aren't necessarily caring about what he has to say. They're saying, all right, show what you can do, especially if you're talking about someone who's taking a team to the Super Bowl, who is doing front flips to the little front flips over competitors to the end zone. Like, what have you shown, young fella? And I want to say that, you know, with Cam, I was so happy about the way in which he responded, right? Yeah. Because I think that, you know, as a star athlete, you could have a really big ego and be like, kid, you know, get out my camp, or like, what have you done? How many millions do you have? Like, but I think that he, you know, from what I've heard, he went over there and really tried to get an understanding of like why the kid was saying what he was saying and what was really going on a deeper level, because that always comes from a deeper level. It's not just, oh, I want to insult you, you know?
Yeah, no, that's facts. That's facts. Like he was graceful because like he's much more graceful than I would have been for him.
Right.
Like, this is my camp, dog. You got to go home. Like, I don't know. I'd have called him about 6 different type of bums first. Like, cause you, it's funny that he's like, oh, I'm rich, but yeah, like I'd have called him 6 different type of bums. Like, what are those cleats? Yeah, go home. Yeah, them some nice cleats. You better walk home. And I'm like, and I just think that like you pointed out like the difference between Kyrie and this kid, right? Kyrie did the same thing that Kobe did to Michael Jordan, right? It's like, oh, I'm cold too. Yeah, like I'm gonna try to give you buckets, but like it's between the lines. It's like I want to show you my game. I want to compete with you. So if he was like, hey, Cam, line up on me, like I'm gonna work you. Like there's a difference between him doing that and just like straight heckling him, like as somebody on the sideline. And Cam came over there and was like, yeah, bro, like who are you? Like, what's your name? What position you play? What'd you do today? Did you score some touchdowns? And he was like, bro, you'll see. And it's like he shut down a good opportunity to get some networking, right? It's like maybe he could have heckled him, but when Cam came over calm and collect and really trying to talk to him, he could have really built that relationship right there. Cam might have had a bad taste in his mouth, but he might have left off like, oh, this kid kind of nice. Right. Or this kid might got something. Like, I'm gonna check him out. I might call the people that I know, like as a not only an MVP and somebody that's gone to the Super Bowl, but as someone that has won a Heisman and gone to the national championship. Cam has competed on the top levels, played under amazing coaches. And it's like, bro, you just really wasted your opportunity. So then bro put out this apology that I want to read. And I want us to think about the sincerity of this, right? So he says, first and foremost, I want to express my deepest apologies to Cam Newton, my entire org, and my coaches for my actions at the 7-on-7 tournament this past weekend. I did not intend for it to get as far as it did. First, I would like to start off by saying my parents never taught me to be disrespectful to people. As a football player, I let my competitive side get the best of me, and it was a huge miscommunication. It was in the midst of the moment, and I realized now how a lot of you took it as disrespect. I never meant to humiliate and let alone or let anyone down. I am very appreciative for the 7-on-7 to even allow me to be a part of the community, allow me to be a part of the team that I'm currently on. I realize this can dictate my future as a young man having very big dreams and goals, but I will not allow this to stop me from getting where I need to be. So again, I apologize and I hope I can be forgiven. So, Scholar P, what you think about that apology?
These apologies are always, oh, this is how y'all took it. It seems like y'all took it in that
Mhm.
way. I didn't intend. No one intends to do anything, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't, but that doesn't matter. It never matters. It's the impact.
Yes.
I think a more sincere apology would have been like, what I did had this impact. This is inexcusable. I apologize. This
Yeah.
was on me. I messed up. And it's not how y'all took it. Y'all didn't take it as disrespect. It was literally disrespect. You know what I'm saying?
It was.
I
Yeah.
can't pee on you and tell you it's raining. It's literal urine. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, it sounded very, politically correct and politically charged. Like he didn't want to make the apology, but his parents definitely got on him like, hey, we didn't raise you like that. So you're going to let the
Yeah.
world know. But I think that you got to talk about the impact, and you have to say, hey, no matter what the intention was, this is what happened. And this is not how y'all took it or how y'all perceived it. This is what happened. And I think if he would have done that, it probably would have been taken better. Because he's, like you said, he like messed up some really big network opportunities, and he sort of references that in the apology. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to let no one stop me. And I'm like, you did let yourself stop yourself in that instance. But I hope this really is a learning experience. Maybe not now with that type of apology, but hopefully in time, the young brother grows and he realizes the mistake he made.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you for breaking that down. So for my fellas, my ladies, my non-binary folk, like when you're thinking about how to apologize and making it genuine and sincere, know that when you're saying like, "Oh, I'm sorry that you took it this way. I didn't intend this." It makes it insincere. Just like Scholar P said, no one intends, unless you're a psychopath or a sicko, like to really harm or hurt anyone. So I think it is important for us to take accountability for our actions. I'm sorry that I disrespected you. I didn't, and I don't even, you can't even say I didn't intend to. It's like, I'm sorry I disrespected you. I won't let it happen again. I think
Right.
that more than anything, that's all people want to hear. It's like, I acknowledge my actions. Just like you said, like how he went about it was political. And I think that for us to ever move on, I think we have to be able to just be accountable for our actions and move forward and just be upfront. I think that's what we even ask for our politicians. We talked about this at debates and stuff like that, right? And we want this on a people level. We want you to see us as people. And I think when you are able to own up for that, I think people respect you more. So I hope that he didn't burn all his bridges. I hope he has another chance, but I hope that he can learn and grow from this, because I know a lot of people been on his head. So we're not the only ones to like roast.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Young brothers, young sisters, the non-binary folks, this does not have to be your mistake too. This does not have to be your mistake too. But speaking of which, we still got to give credit to Cam Newton for his humility and grace. And, I think that's another just signifier of a great, right?
Yeah.
And I know that another great that has had to sort of be mature and have, humility and grace is Serena.
Mm.
So for those of you who don't know, Serena, she lost a match. Was it in the Grand Slam? I believe it was in the Grand Slam competition, and she lost it to Naomi, which is the young African American woman that she lost it to a little while back.
Mm.
And so it's this crazy thing because Naomi is obviously inspired, whether you look at her skill set or her positionality as a Black woman in tennis. She's obviously inspired by Serena. She said it herself.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's interesting to sort of see that transition. And Serena had a post game conference, and she had tears welling up in her eyes, and she left early. But I don't know if people are really criticizing her for that, but for anyone who might, I have to say that that's it's understandable that Serena is filled with emotion, because it's
Mhm.
like she's still incredible, and I know that she knows that she's incredible, but it has to feel like an interesting experience to know that like there's someone else who at some point you will be giving that mantle to, whether it's voluntarily or involuntarily. So it was just, it's a crazy moment to witness, because I know that Serena, she just changed Black people's connection to tennis, her and Venus, right?
Yeah.
And like I'm seeing, freaking like Lala, Anthony, Drake, all these Black celebrities coming out,
Beyonce.
right, coming out to support the sport of tennis. And it's like, I don't even know how much they like tennis, because I've never seen any of those people individually play tennis, but it's because we had a rock solid person holding it down for Black people in Serena. And so she's done so much for the culture, and I
Yeah.
just hope that she's able to continue walking in grace as she does get older and she does start to think about life after the sport. What do you think, T. Shaw?
Yeah, no, I think it's just a case of like the student becomes the master at some point, and that's okay. I think it's a testament to Serena's legacy, just like you said, Scholar P. Like we think about how long Serena's been in the game, how much
Yeah.
impact she's had. We talked about this when we're thinking about GOAT status. It's like when you can play people that you've inspired, that you've impacted their game, then you know you've made an impact on the sport and your legacy will reign on. I think the first time that Naomi beat her, it came as a surprise. Naomi is a Black and Japanese woman.
Right.
I had never heard of her before. She was ranked, but I think she was, of course, lower than Serena, and she kind of upset her. That's when it was a controversial match where the ref stole some points for her. She got into it with the ref, a lot of different things kind of came out. And I don't think I want to say it was one of Naomi's first major wins, but I know she wasn't able to really relish in it and really like feel good about it, because not only did she beat her mentor, but it wasn't like the match didn't go how it should have went. It's like anytime you win by default, right? It's like she didn't get a chance to really win. After the ref stole those points, it kind of took the energy out the stadium, and it was a phenomenal match. So I think this rematch around, Naomi is ranked a little bit higher. I think she was 3 and Serena was 10. And it was an anticipated matchup. But I think that this win kind of shows that that torch is starting to be passed. That's not pushing Serena out by any means, but it's knowing that we're beginning to see the end of something that was great, but this dynasty will continue. This mantle will be passed, and I think that we can only thank Serena. And I am just so grateful for the opportunity to watch her play. Because without her, I'm not honestly never watching tennis. Like if
Right.
I'm being so real, but now I'm invested in Naomi Osaka, right? Or Osaka. I know she also impacted Coco Golf, I believe her last name is, another younger Black woman in the sport. So I think it's just important that we can see her legacy being passed on. And it's just something amazing to see. It's just kind of like how we think about Kobe, right? It's like a lot of people embodied their game after Kobe in the game right now, whether that be like Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving, Trey Young, all these players, right? You birth a new generation, and with that new generation, the sport carries on and develops further. So again, we trying to give people their roses while they are still here, and we want to do that for Serena.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think when I think about, I love the point you made about that legacy and all, we think about Serena and who she inspired, right? And
Mm.
like Naomi can't exist without Serena. And so it's like you can't push Serena out because Naomi wouldn't exist without her. It's almost like no matter how famous a Chris Brown gets, and I am on record saying this, Chris Brown doesn't exist without Usher.
Yeah.
Usher, no matter how big Usher was, Usher doesn't exist without Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson might not exist without James Brown. And so I think there has to be a respect of that torch moving, but also an acknowledgement of Serena can never be erased. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you are her sons, her daughters, you know, for lack of a better term. And every time we see someone, especially a Black woman, wielding a tennis racket, Serena's going to be in there and have a part of that legacy too. And I think that's something that's very important for us to remember,
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm telling you, like tennis is a completely different sport. Tennis does not have seasoning without Serena. And I'm grateful for that. And I think we have to be as a unit, right?
Right. And so as we think about, Serena and how she's sort of brought in the, I guess the next generations, we start to think about, the next generation, right? So we start to think about the Naomis and how awesome it is for Naomi to know that she's sort of moving and starting to fill the shoes of the people who built that legacy for her. So, as you all know, this month we've been bringing on a lot of different guests, and we've been, really trying to show you all the next generation of thinkers, whether it was our girl Saturn, our boy Orlando, my boy Michael, you know what I'm saying? And this guest, a good friend of ours. I've known this man for quite a while, and he is a writer for Blavity. He has written articles for Forbes, probably interviewed some of your favorite celebrities, and so we want to bring in the next generation of Black creative. Can we bring in Mr. Kenny Williams?
Say what's up to the people, Kenny. Kenny, you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can. What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. We doing good. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. Kenny. So I have a few questions for you because for our people who are tuning in, I think that your journey is very important as a black creative. And I want you to sort of go into that. But first, tell the people a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. So my name is Kenny. If you follow me on Instagram, Kenny Onse, but I am a Black creative. I'm a pop culture writer and on-air host for Blavity News.
Hey,
I
Yes.
I'm a contributor for. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Yes.
We just hyping
Okay.
you up.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm a contributor for Forbes by way of Forbes the Culture. And yeah, I consider myself a cultural critic. I really like responding to things that are happening in pop culture. A lot of my pieces, if they're not responding to something, they're really just talking about how to show up and stand up for Black women, and Black LGBTQ plus folks.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about me. I'm just grateful to be here.
Awesome, bro. It's always a pleasure to have you. For those of you all who've been rocking with us since day one, Kenny was one of our first guests, and it's a pleasure to have you during Black History Month. We were just sort of talking about how Naomi was continuing a legacy for Black women athletes that Serena had built a foundation for, right? And so when I think about you, I think about the next generation of Black excellence, and you've sort of shown that over the like years time since we've had you on the podcast. And so I know you mentioned being a contributor for Forbes. I know you mentioned being a writer and on-air host for Blavity. And that was a really big thing that's happened since the last time we saw you in terms of picking up that on-air job and opportunity. Can you tell us about that journey? Because I know you were writing, but then you also picked up that TV show. Can you tell us about that journey and what that was like?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So last summer, I think in August, I got invited to be a part of Fox Soul, specifically the Tammy Mack show. She's an amazing person. And the topic was, it was just about Black media outlets. So there was me and a few other panelists from different publications. So it was really cool. And that was like my first on-air gig, period. It was really dope being in solidarity and community with these Black panelists who were just talking about their experiences in the game and who were also, I consider, like veterans as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and it was a really good experience. And I showed my editor at the time, Lily, who was my mentor. So I showed her, and I was like, "Hey, Lily, check this out. Let me know what you think." So she looked it over, and then she asked me, she was like, "Is this something you want to do?" Because I want you to do, I want you to host our Facebook Live interviews. I think you would be really good for it.
Ooh.
I was like, wow. And that was crazy because that was the goal. That still is the goal. So I was very grateful just to be offered to do something that I love and that I want to get better and that I still want to get better at. So she offered it to me. And my first interview was with Alfonso David, the president of the Human Rights Campaign. They're like the biggest LGBTQ plus civil rights commission in the world.
Wow.
So that's like how it started. And, before that, before I started doing that, before the Fox Soul thing, really my only experience was on podcasts, this gave me a lot of experience with you guys. There was another one called Shoe Talk. So there were other opportunities that I felt like really prepared me to take on this bigger role. So I'm very grateful.
That's dope.
Thank you.
Yeah. And also, I saw you on Slick Talk podcast, right?
Yeah, last weekend, I think it was 2 weekends ago. It was real cool.
Yeah. And so, I want you to talk about, what you've learned because, obviously, and Kenny's a humble human being, right? But he's also talked to, people like Karuche. I think you were
Frida.
Yeah, Cedric the Entertainer, Cash. I think was it Cash Doll as well. Like and
my favorite rapper.
Yeah. So I want you to talk about that transition and what that part of it is like. What have you learned? How has your life changed since you've taken on more responsibilities in that industry?
Yeah, and what has prepared you as well?
Right.
I'll actually start with Tristan's question about what's prepared me, and then I'll go into what's different. So I feel like what's really prepared me is, just humility and just, before I was, blessed to talk to those people and interview for these outlets, when I was doing stuff, when I worked in higher education for a university's blog site, or when I appeared on podcasts and stuff, I approached those things like I was interviewing Cash Doll or Cedric the Entertainer. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't as, when I was writing for a university blog, that wasn't as glamorous, but I treated it like it was glamorous when I was talking to students and whatnot. So just treating every opportunity the same and just being prepared no matter how big or how small it might be. So I think that just humility and just going in with confidence and knowing that those bigger opportunities are going to come soon, even if you can't see it all the way. And I feel like what's changed a lot is quite a few things have changed a lot. First, I still can't believe that, on a weekly basis, I get to talk. I'm blessed to talk to so many different people. Like 1 week I was talking to Cash Doll, the next Cedric the Entertainer. It might be Karuchi. You know what I'm saying? It's just a blessing to me because I prayed about these things. I prayed about these days and I manifested them too. Because, when I was in a dark place in my life, I used to keep sticky notes on my mirror. I don't know if y'all watch Being Mary Jane, Gabrielle Union,
of course,
her fabulous acting and whatnot. So I used to do that. And I used to just manifest these things and pray over them. And I did vision boards and whatnot. So I think what has really changed is people, I have to watch a lot of people who, just try to come into my life all of a sudden, because a lot of times people want something. A lot of times people want to be covered in Blavity or Forbes. A lot of times people want to come on a show. And it's just, it's just fake. And, a lot of people have also switched up too. A lot of people, there are quite a few people who I don't really talk to anymore whose true colors have been shown. Those just jumped out when, the success started happening at a more rampant rate. So it's just just keeping, my circle tight, just keeping my system solid. And also, we talk about things that have changed, but, what stays the same is I really try to keep a level head. I don't, I really try not to let these things hype my head up because it's easy as it is to get arrogant about something. It's easy it is for everything to get snatched away from you. So yeah, other than that, people are crazy, my DMs are crazy. People think that DMing me literally every day, sometimes every hour, getting me to cover stories. They think that's the way of pitching, but it's actually very annoying. And my DMs are really in shambles. So it's just a lot of responsibility, but I'm grateful for it all.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that humility piece really stands out. Just hearing you talk, like it's ingrained there. Seeing every opportunity as an opportunity, right? It's like treating nothing better than anything else. I think that that's
Right.
what makes greats great, and no matter what field they're in. And I love to hear that from you. And you can just hear that humility as you talk about things. So, bro, like the sky's the limits for you. I'm really excited. I'm glad to have known
Thank
you.
you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And Kenny, I want you to speak to Black creatives who were sort of in that place where you were, right, where maybe they were struggling, or they were going through hard times, and they wanted to give up, right? Because you talk about how you treated every opportunity, like it was that dream job or that dream opportunity anyway. How do you take someone who doesn't have that mindset and give them the skills they need to actually have that mindset? So if I'm a young creative and I'm doing things and nothing is manifesting just yet, how do I, build that mindset and then maintain it and sustain it as life goes on, and keep that faith that something big will come along?
You have to be a visionary, I think. You have to visualize the future that you see for yourself. Like, you have to visualize this I don't not dystopia. What is the word? Utopia. You have to visualize this utopia that you're destined for and that you've been dreaming for and working hard. Like, you have to see that bigger picture. And I know it's really hard because you can be in the trenches, you could be grinding, and you might not see immediate results. But you really have to visualize that on a constant basis. So that could look differently. That could look like how I was doing, putting sticky notes on the mirror and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That could look like you going in the mirror like Issa Rae does on Insecure and unlocking your inner, mirror person. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Just hyping yourself up. That could be journaling. It could be vision boards. It could, be scrapbooking. It really can be whatever you want, but you really have to visualize and keep that vision of what you're destined to become. You have to, and you also have to have that forethought to know that you're greater than circumstances that might be unfavorable right now. Like, you're bigger than circumstances. Like God. And if you don't believe in God, whatever you believe in or don't believe in, you just have to understand that you're being made to be uncomfortable because you're fit. You're destined for something bigger and greater. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, everything is a season. You have your winning seasons, your losing seasons. We all have them, but I think really just understanding that and being comfortable with that. And it's hard. I mean, it's really easier said than done, but I
Mhm.
think you really have to have that vision of what you are going for and what you want to be, and you really have to just stick to it, and you really have to just reference that a lot, and that's how you keep going. I feel like that's what helped me out a lot.
Wow. Bro,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna let you know right now. That's gonna be a clip. We putting that out, boy. Cause I was it was such great advice. And it just made me think like I've been working with this teacher, and he's been having the students do positive affirmations. He'll collect maybe about 20 affirmations to put them on a slide. And then he'll make every student choose one and let us know why they chose that one. So I've started trying it in my other classes, and it's amazing to see how much more bright they become, right? Not even like intellectual wise, just like their light. Like they open up more. They believe in themselves a little bit more. Just listening to them talk, no matter where they're at. Even the gloomiest kid that I have, he really doesn't respond to anything. He doesn't have a positive attitude about anything. He read this one today and was like, "Yeah, no, like I think I believe I had a power to change my life, and I really believe that once I get some opportunities, things will change." And I'm hearing that from you. It's like when you instill those things, that's the same thing Issa Rae is doing. It's those positive affirmations. And it's like, whatever really works for you, find that. But it's that action. That action is power. So I love that you dropped that gem on us.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, and it's like you have to be that way because there are so many things and so many people in life who are telling you what you can't do,
Mm-hmm.
what they don't believe that you can do. So you really have to, have that internal strength and that just that vision to be like, okay, well, I don't care what you're saying, I don't care who you are. Like I'm a boss. You know, I'm the coldest. I'm the baddest, and this is where I'm going. And you can either watch, you can help me, do whatever you want, but I'm still gonna get there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what's up.
Right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Kenny, we want you to get into your culture critic bag, but I got one more thing that I want to ask you just really quickly, right? You talk about the affirmations and things of that nature, but you and I have had so many conversations about your actual hustle, right? And like, just I remember we went, me and Kenny, we went to Essence Fest and we were like there in the middle of the convention center in New Orleans. And Kenny was talking about how we're about to manifest our destinies and things of that nature, right? And so it's always so beautiful to like think back on that moment and be like, so many people talk so much craziness and talk so much mess about how they're going to do this and do that. And I really watched his brother go out and do exactly everything he said he was going to do. And I know that it's at the tip, he's still at the tip of the iceberg, right? Which is scary to think about. But I want you to really talk about that mentality of hustle, right? Because like you said, you had your good days and your better days. How does someone have that mentality of hustle, right? And how does someone have the creativity of hustle? Because you did so many different things on your way to like getting the opportunity with Blavity, whether it was a contributor or an on-air host. So can you talk about that mentality of hustle?
Yeah, and thank you for just referencing that time when we was at Essence Fest, because it's crazy, to see how much we've manifested and how much we've grown, in our journey. So when I think about hustling and just creativity, I feel like if you want something bad enough, you're gonna go after it, and a lot of times that is the hustle. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And what people don't understand is that what people don't understand about the hustle for whatever you're doing is that you're oftentimes you're not going to see immediate results. You know what I'm saying? Like I never went into say if I was at my other job at a university interviewing a student. I wasn't like, okay, well, I'm gonna interview Cash Cow tomorrow, or the next hour. But I did know that that opportunity interviewing that student was setting me up to interview Cash Cow down the line. You know what I'm saying? Like just really seeing that bigger picture. Because when you're able to see the bigger picture and when you're able to like really assess where you want to be and what you want to do, you're able to really pay attention to how these smaller steps are going to lead you there. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was doing podcasts, like and I will never down podcasts because that's how I got my start. I feel like being on this
Mm-hmm.
podcast, Shoe Talk, and just some other things that I can't really think of right now. But you look at those smaller steps and you have to know that those are going to lead you to the bigger picture. You know what I'm saying? It's just really
Yeah.
not having that arrogance because a lot of people think they're too arrogant to hustle.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people who are somewhere, probably mad at me because they see that I am, and I don't mean for this to sound arrogant, but it's a lot of people who are mad at me because I work to get to where I am right now. It's really just the tip of the iceberg. They're mad because they didn't have that hustle in them. They didn't want to hustle. They thought they were too good or above that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And you never go into anything too arrogantly because that will really just take you out the game sooner than you think. So I just think, humility, seeing a bigger picture. And as far as creativity, you got to switch it up. It's a million people doing the same things as you. How are you going to stand out? I'm always thinking like, how can I separate myself from everybody else? And I don't mean that in a way where I'm like competing with other people because I'm certainly not. I only compete with myself, but I want to make sure that the content and the product that I put out is unique. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
when you look at people like Beyonce and just, or people like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, people who are like true innovators, just imagine like the excitement that people had when those projects came out. Like you remember how excited people were when Lemonade came out or
Mm-hmm.
self-titled
Absolutely.
album from Beyonce came out. I want people to get that excited about my stuff. So I want
Ooh.
my stuff to be
Right.
fresh. So I have to be creative. I have to set myself apart. So that was my thought. Just about hustling and creativity. Like, don't think you're too good to hustle. Like, if you want it, you go and get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, by any means necessary, right? Like
That's it.
it's like
Period.
so many people are afraid or too good. I think really too good to really get they elbows and their knees dirty. Really like
Right.
get through the trenches. And it's like, you knew that like any opportunity is an opportunity, and that opportunity can be my big break, or it can get me prepared for the next thing. But it shows that you're that visionary, that you've bought into this larger mission, that whether it be little or big, like it all matters. But all you know is that you're going to continue to move forward and have progress. And I think that that is a message that I think is also kind of being lost in today's age with social media and a lot of instant gratification. It's like people want to buy the organic, and it's like, no, you have to like, you got to go through those lows to get those highs. And I think that this is just a great testament. And it's like, we've really only caught you midway, maybe not even midway, we might have just caught you at the base of your mountain, bro. Like there's still a whole peak to go, but you've
Right.
been through the valleys, and I think that that's the most important part.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that because I really do. I really appreciate that because it's so many people that's just made on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people who have just created themselves on Instagram, and they call it content or whatnot. But I really have to stay myself. I really have to stay true to who I am and stay true to that hustle. Because even now, like I feel like I've established like great success, and I'm so grateful. But I'm still hustling. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not sitting on my laurels and saying, well, this can happen, so I can just I can rest easily for like 5 or 10 years. Like, no, I'm still hustling. I'm still like hustling interviews. I'm still hustling, trying to do this and that and the other. So it just doesn't stop. Because Cardi B once said that, she's rich, but she still hustles like she broke. And that has stuck with me.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And so look, Kenny, I want us to get into, your pop cultural critique bag, right? Because I know you're paying attention, and I want you to show people just how you give it up when it comes to critiquing the pop culture, right? And we want to know what you think about this whole Kim Ye situation that is no more, right? So what do you think about Kim Kardashian and Kanye breaking up? What has their marriage meant to the black community? And I think there can even be some arguments about, who's been more destructive or helpful to the black community between Kanye and Kim. So any of those things I just put out there, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I honestly think like the impact. So I think the impact of their breakup and on the black community is that I just look at it as two narcissists finally breaking. Not even two narcissists. One narcissist and a culture vulture have broken up. You know what I'm saying? Like you have a narcissist and a culture vulture who came together on the heels of black people, who have made them successful, both of them successful, really, and they have just, I don't know what happened in their marriage, but it looks toxic. I mean, you have this one part of this relationship, going off on Beyonce and Jay-Z at concerts, announcing presidency, supporting, let me backtrack, announcing presidencies with no real experience, and then also like supporting Trump. And then you have another one who is really just a culture vulture, whose entire family's full of culture vultures, who have, the only reason that they're famous is because of black women, because they've appropriated them so much. They've appropriated their bodies so much to the point that people think that black women are trying to look like Kim K, when Kim K actually tries to look like black women. So I just think really probably the impact of their breakup is probably going to be fabulous. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean,
we're free from the shackles.
I really want to liberate my people from this idolization of Kanye West and Kim K. I really get disappointed when I hear people still like really supporting Kanye in a way where they are not holding him accountable for the things that he's done. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I get it. I get it that all of our favorite artists, they might do some problematic, well, not mine, because Beyonce is mine, but for other people, like all of people, their artists might do things problematic, but people really don't hold Kanye accountable. People are always like, oh my God, but he came out with the College Dropout album, I think it's called, or he's done this and that and the other. But it's like he has aligned himself with, the biggest racist in the world, and that doesn't sit right with you. So then, and with Kim K, it's like, I really hate people, I see this a lot, people just really supporting her And, to the point of calling out other Black people for not supporting her. I was in a meeting a few weeks ago, or last week, really. And this one woman, she said, this one Black woman, she said, say what you want about the Kardashians, but they're boss business women. Their business is appropriating Black culture. That's not boss. That's lame. First of all, it's corny. It's tacky. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to say about her. So I just really want to liberate my people from not holding these two, I don't know, these two clowns, Ren and Stimpy, accountable. Because now is the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, this has been one of the most irritating couples that I've ever seen. And I'm not glad that they broke up, because maybe they really did love each other. But I hope that people just stop talking about them. Because people keep them in the limelight too much, especially that racist Kardashian family.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I got to put this out there. And T, I want to know your thoughts too. Yeah. So I know I think with Kim, Kenny, I definitely agree. Like, she's the master. She could do a master class on cultural appropriation, right?
Bro, not a master class.
She has monetized that deeply, right? Now, when you think about Kanye and his alignment with Trump, right, and Kim's alignment with Trump, so you think about the fact that Kim got a lot of credit for getting these Black people these pardons, and black lawyers who were doing the work didn't get the credit that Kim got. But would you say that Kim did more and was more helpful towards Black people in using her privilege for that? Because and T, I know, and I want to hear your thoughts too, T, because I know that we've had this conversation too. So I want to be devil's advocate here. What do y'all think about Kim's impact in that way? Because I think that Kanye has been saying, slavery was a choice, and this, that, and the third. And Kim, for all her cultural appropriation, there's so many people who are not using their privilege for anything. And so does Kim get any credit, or should she, and not more credit than the Black lawyers who are actually doing the work, but should we give her any flowers in that regard? Kenny, T, to that, y'all say what?
Kim gets no credit. Kim gets no flowers. Kim gets nothing. She gets absolutely nothing from me. So first of all, it's performative. First and foremost, it's performative. Going to the White House, taking pictures with Trump, and and try. I do appreciate that she tried to get our people out of jail, and she's an advocate in that, right? But not too much, because that's what she's supposed to do. This is a woman whose proximity to whiteness has allowed her to really go unscathed from a lot of the BS that she perpetuates and that white supremacy that she perpetuates. So I feel like non-Black people, I feel like non-Black people are supposed to be doing things like this, advocating for, the release of Black folks who were unfairly jailed. You know what I'm saying?
Especially
this is things that she's supposed to do. Exactly. These are things that she's really supposed to do. So she really gets no credit, and it's performative. Because there are people on the ground who are doing this who will never get recognition, like whether they're Black lawyers or Black organizers. There are people who will never get credit, but just because she's a Kardashian, I feel like she's getting way too much credit. Like, no, Kim, you have Black daughters, you have a Black son. This is what you're supposed to do. You don't get any credit. You don't get any flowers. I mean, you're a celebrity. Like, you literally have a platform to do these things. So now she don't get nothing from me.
Yeah. And just what Kenny said, like, let me just break down what performative means, right? So it's called performative activism, and it's really just a term that thinks about activism as a way to boost your clout, to boost your social capital, as they might say. Instead of really being devoted to the cause. When people was posting those Black pictures or the Black dots when it was Black Lives Matter, and it was really just pushing down the content that people were using the hashtag for it to be seen. That's performative activism. I saw people that never talked about these issues post this black box because they thought that that's what they were supposed to do, and if they didn't, that people would talk about them. But it's really just tacky, and it's really lazy in general. Now, don't get me wrong. When we're thinking about Kim's actual actions, right? It's a little bit more than performative in a way, but it's still surface level. Because I couldn't tell Alice Johnson or Chris Young that her actions were performative, because they got out of jail. their lives have been fundamentally changed. So there are real effects, but just like Kenny points out, it's like she has such a big platform. So many more people could benefit from her and her wealth and her status and her privilege. But these were the only two. So then I start to think, and I really appreciate your question, Scholar P, because I think about the sacrifice, the sacrificial lamb, if I want to call him that, Kanye. Kanye has been off his rocker for a minute. But this is again the same Kanye from All Falls Down, right? This is the same Kanye they say, F the police, and that's how I treat them. We can't buy our way out of jail, but we can't buy freedom. We buy a lot of clothes because we don't really need them to cover up the things that we got inside, right? So it's like there's a consciousness there. There's a consciousness. But this is the same Kanye that is pals with Donald Trump, that announces a random presidency, that went and met Trump before he was even inaugurated, met him as president-elect, to catch up and talk about life. So I'm thinking really like these pardons that Kim K got done on behalf of these people, but in collaboration with these Black lawyers, that stuff doesn't get done. These people don't get pardoned without Kanye's spiral and his association with Trump. So I feel like it's just very convenient. It's just very convenient that that Kanye really spirals this bad and forms this relationship, and she benefits off of it. I've like really sitting down, think about it. It doesn't feel right, because it's like she still benefits from this. She still gets the social capital of fighting for these Black people while also being rich and also supporting Hillary Clinton, as her husband is off his rocker, really just tweaking, and she's getting again more clout from that. So I in a way, even though I feel like he did it to himself, it was very sacrificial. And he even tweeted it himself. He was like, "We all know that Get Out is about me." And it's true. It's like he's in the sunken place, and she took advantage of that. She used him as a stepladder. And I mean, they might have had love there, but I see a lot of exploitation and a lot of capitalism.
Yeah, no, I mean, both of y'all make such great points. So like, I love this side because when you were talking, you made me think about, the fact, and T, you alluded to this too, that we can't give Kim cookies for doing the things that she should be doing anyway. And then I also thought when you both were talking about the performative nature of it all, right? It's not to say that, like T said, that it didn't have real impact for those people that she got out, but I think about folks like a Jay-Z, who's done a lot of things that no one knows about, that have like pushed criminal justice reform forward. And I think about, if she was going to do this, did there have to be a photo op? What were the purposes of that? And once again, it's like you're benefiting off of the Kanye going crazy, and you looking like the person who actually like wraps it all together. Like, yeah, me and Kanye are a team, and Kanye's tripping, and I'm gonna be the one who actually goes and does stuff for Black people, while these lawyers and things don't get the credit. Kenny T, both of y'all are on the ground activists. And so I definitely understand where you're coming from when you say there's so many people who are doing this work all the time. And if Kim cared about it, she could make shows about this stuff. She could really dedicate a lot of her time and energy to, illuminating the things that are going on the ground. And the great thing about her whiteness and her privilege is that she wouldn't even have to expend that much energy to change the lives of so many more people, whether it be folks in the prison industrial system, or folks on the ground who are working against mass incarceration. And so I love the points that you all make. And I think that for those of you who are looking at Kim or Kanye and saying, well, they've done this, they've done that, they've done X, Y, and Z, think about what they could have done if they really cared about this, if they were genuine, right? So Kenny, before you came on here, we were talking about like a genuine apology versus something that's performative. And I think that we can apply the same thing here, right? Whatever they've done for Black people up to this point, has it been completely selfless? And then even if it has been, what's their trend and history of doing it, because this is stuff that they should be doing anyway, especially because they benefit off the culture so heavily.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Kenny, do you have any more thoughts on this Kimye situation?
No, I agree with Kristen. It is exploitation, and I never thought about it that way before Tristan broke it down. It is. I completely agree. So thank you for breaking that down, because I feel like probably a lot of other people who didn't see it that way, but it's so true. Mm-hmm. Especially when you look at this relationship through the years. When you look at the fact that his mental health, struggles are turned into episodes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like they always turn into episodes, and she's capitalizing off of that in a way that is just toxic, and it's really, I don't know, it's dastardly.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, like after these spirals, some of the spirals, a good amount of these spirals have been aimed at her and the family. But I think that how it's positioned in the media is like, man, we need to get Kanye some help. But oh, poor Kim. Like this is what Kim should be. This is what Kim has to deal with. So at all times, it feels like they're always seen as opposites, and he's usually losing, and she's usually kind of coming up in the situation. So yeah, it just took me a second to sit down and think about that, but I'm glad that it made some sense. I appreciate that, Kenny.
Yeah,
for sure. Thank you.
Well, look, Kenny, we appreciate you being on here so much. You've dropped mad gems, mad rubies, diamonds, the gold, the silver, the platinum, all of it, as we knew you would. And once again, we just say thank you for taking the time, and treating, this opportunity like any other opportunity. Thank you for all the inspiration you've given the Black creatives, the Black hustlers out there. And for those who don't necessarily understand what exploitation and performative, acts look like. We know it's late over there on the East Coast. Shout out Detroit. But before you go, we want you to plug. Where can the people find you, find your articles, find your TV show?
Yeah, thank you so much. And before I get into the plugs, I just want to thank you guys so much for giving me an opportunity to come on here and, just to kick it and just to get my thoughts on current events. That really means the world to me. And I'm just excited for the future for all of us. Yeah. But you can find me on Instagram at Kennyonce. So it's KENNYONCE, like Beyonce, but Kennyonce. And you can find me on Twitter at the same handle with an extra E. So it's spelled on Twitter at KENNYONCEE. And if you want to check out the interviews that I do for Blavity News, go to Blavity's Facebook page. I usually go live every Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I'm talking to Dan Lathan from TMZ. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, just check me out.
Dope. Thank you so much again for joining us, bro. You are just, oh man, you had so many gems, just like Scholar P said, just so much like just wealth, cultural wealth, a wealth of knowledge. And we appreciate you joining us. And we'll continue to bring you on. You are a voice that we need. We want to center that in the community, and we definitely gonna lobby you to our audience. We want people to tap in with your work. I mean, I want y'all to know this man can write. This guy can write. Y'all need to check out his stuff.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for all the love. Before I leave, I just want to tell people who are listening, make sure you build solidarity and build community with other Black creatives. Mm-hmm. These white people, it's not what you think. They not going to give you the type of resources or the type of love that a lot of y'all think they are. That's a whole different conversation. So network across, like Issa Rae said, with your peers.
That's real.
So thank y'all so much.
All right, Kenny, it's love. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, see you guys.
Ooh, man. This Black History Month, man. Just week after week after week.
It's been nothing but heat. And these are just our community members, right? These are people around us. Like, I want y'all to know, because we've been talking about I've been talking to my students about this. Like, y'all are just as knowledgeable as he is, as the other people we've been bringing on. Tap into your expertise, and share that love and share that knowledge with people. But I'm so hyped, bro. I'm so hyped. We had Kenny again, man. That guy from the jump. I told Scholar P, this is fire.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that one of the reasons that T Shaw, you and I have been able to do the things that we've been able to do is because we keep people like a Kenny around us, like an Orlando, like a Saturn, right? Like a Michael around us, right? It's just iron sharpening iron. And I'm sure they would say the same thing about us. And so I think that you need to watch your community. I think that as Kenny was saying, your community might get smaller and it might alter and adjust the more success you reach, right? And you start to really find out who the people are around you who are going to make you better, and the people who are leeches, right? And so make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who intentionally love you, check on you, care about you, because those are the people who are going to allow you to not only get to the next level, but to enjoy and have happiness and success in the next level. And so, yeah, it's just crazy. It's like, in some ways, like we said, Kenny's at the beginning of his era, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we are ending the end of an era in terms of Black History Month of 2021. But T, it's been a great few weeks. I think everyone's just sort of been pushing it to their limits. A lot of birthdays, a lot of writing, a lot of great films. What are some of your reflections on 2021?
Yeah, man. It's been a phenomenal month. There's been actually a lot of highs, but also a lot of lows.
Mm.
I think we've done a great job in covering all of them, but time and time again, I'm reminded that 28 days is just not enough. It's just not enough. I saw this thing on Twitter the other day. It said, we need a Black History Month, we need a Melanin March, we need an African American April, we need a My Nigga May. um,
Bet, honestly.
and I just think that, like, especially trying to teach the stuff that I'm teaching in the classroom, it's sad to see. Like, I mean, I think it's very cliche when we talk about it, how Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Obama and Oprah and Rosa Parks are usually the five people mentioned during Black History Month. And when I'm talking to some of my students, it's the same thing. And I think as the older you get, the more exposed you are. But some people aren't exposed to that stuff. And I think that when it's 28 days, we gotta break through that performative level, and that takes some weeks.
Right.
Takes some weeks. And I think that, like, it has been I think it's been refreshing, but I think also going off of what Kenny said, I think that, like, I've seen a lot of performative stuff, right? It's like it's keeping up with what we saw when George Floyd was killed and Breonna Taylor was killed. There's a lot of, like, Target putting out Black History Month shirts, and I think you sent me Apple send they have like a
Yeah.
Black History Month like Apple Watch. So I think that that's been like the lows of Black History Month, but the highs have always just been community. I think coming together and, like, seeing people, like, really rally and put each other on, whether that be, like, informally, like on this podcast, or just like Michael's history class. But the thing I love about Michael's history class is that, like, it's just not in the 28 days, it's year round. So
Mm.
I think just seeing a bunch of different things go on, like this Black History Month, reminds me that this work it needs to continue to be done. And it can't be limited to this 28 days. What do you think?
Um, I absolutely agree. I think that it just all feels like a blur, right?
Yeah.
It went by so fast. I think that the things that really stood out for me was obviously doing a lot of writing and just remembering, because I'm doing my dissertation around Black people, and looking back at our history and looking at all the horrible things that people have done to us,
Yeah.
especially in terms of the criminal justice system, and just realizing that we're still here is so big.
Hmm.
And then I think another big thing for me too is the movies that have come out in
Absolutely.
in February, like the One Night in Miami, right? And Judas and the Black Messiah, like those are just such great films to like encapsulate us in moments in time and really make us feel like, oh, we were there with the Black Panthers, or we were there with Malcolm and Sam and Jim and Muhammad Ali, like or Clash's Clay.
Mhm.
And so I felt like this month was about immersion, right?
Yeah.
An immersive experience in terms of our own communities, but I felt like I got to know a little bit more about our ancestors that I thought I already knew a nice amount about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think those are some of the biggest things that stood out. What were some of your biggest lessons from Black History Month? And not necessarily like facts or tidbits, but what have you learned about yourself as it relates to your own Blackness?
I would say one thing is specific is to support other Black people. And that like we are a community. I think that we're strongest when we're together. I think that that's what the Black Power fist represents, is power to the people, and it's power to the people because we're together. We've done the analogy of like a fist in the open hand. But just seeing how my Black creators around me have been creating just dope content. Just mentioned Michael, but like I know Saturn, she had on February 1st, it was like a Black love thing, celebrating Black creatives and allowing them to showcase their arts and their talents. And all around me, I've seen a lot of people just putting on for either themselves and just like showcasing their talents and their art, or helping put on other Black people that are doing great things in the community. So I think that that's definitely been one of the highs for me. And one of the biggest lessons, not really learned, but reinforced. But I think another lesson that has been reinforced is that like all like all Black people aren't your kinfolk. Like all skin folk ain't kinfolk, right? I think that like one of the most disappointing things I've seen is that like the national organization of Black Lives Matter, it came out the other was it the other day that they reported that they got $90 million in like donations, $90 million in revenue. And we know that was based off of like that 2020, right? That hectic 2020 with Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd. And that's it's the people's money, but it's also like donations made by like these big corporations. You know how we talked about like uh the NBA donated to Black Lives Matter, and like the NFL. And it sucks because I feel like it began as a grassroots organization that started a movement that has really like shaped our lives. But we've watched how they've grown from this grassroots organization to this like this big philanthropic money making machine in a way. Like they've become just kind of a symbol. Like we've lost the roots, and I think that that's slightly disappointing. I know that there's chapters across the nation that have broken from them, that feel as if their work is more grassroots, and the national organization isn't really supporting them. I think about the Black Panthers. I think that's another high from this month, is like the Fred Hampton movie, and just being reminded of Fred Hampton's work and how much they did creating these survival programs, whether that be liberation schools, the free breakfast for kids program, the medical clinics, the sickle cell anemia research, um, the food and clothing drives, the busing to prisons, the funding of attorneys for people. I think that like that is things that I felt like Black Lives Matter could have been doing with their money. You know how many organizers and activists went to jail over this summer? How many people were pepper sprayed and maced and hit with rubber bullets? It's like I think about the movement that we did on UCLA's campus. And it's like we raised a good amount of money, but we were very transparent with what we were doing with that money, how it was spent, and how it was donated. And it's like I can understand how you get an influx of money because that happened to us. But it's like the minute it touched us, we was like, okay, well, who needs it? And I think I felt like they sat on it. And I think that I think rubs some people the wrong way too, right? Because we saw that a lot of people had some critique about the twerk on Washington. It's like y'all twerking, it's like y'all encouraging us to twerk. That's cool. But while we twerking, throw some money on that ass, right?
Right.
Like
Basically.
so I just feel like even with that in mind, it's like y'all weren't even being like as thoughtful with content as you could be. it's like maybe if y'all was a high school or college BSO, then that's some cool content to put out and show, and that's okay. But it's like y'all have so much capital to do so much with, and y'all didn't do it. So I think that that might be one of the biggest lessons learned is that things change, and it's like I think that's a big thing to know that things change, and like the people that were there for you in your community you saw as your rock may not be there anymore, whether that be on a people level or institution level.
Absolutely. And and I thought a lot about, death, this month. And I think that it was because, seeing Judas and the Black Messiah were, trying to honor Fred Hampton, but also looking at, William O'Leary. Then also thinking about, One Night in Miami, thinking about how Malcolm died, less than a year after that, and how Sam Cooke died less than 9 months after that. It made me think about death in the sense that the government and the nation is so against us because it sees how powerful we can become. I think one of the most like phenomenal moments that I've seen in any film this whole year is when Fred went into that white supremacist organization and really got them to say, hey, like we're all struggling together. And that the Rainbow Coalition was such a big thing. And so I think that I came away thinking, hey, like this movement takes, or you have to make sacrifices for this movement, one. But then I started thinking about what you were just saying in terms of like having the grassroots feel, excuse me, having a grassroots feel versus having that one leader that you follow. And you sort of got to see the parallels of that. And so you can learn how to appreciate these smaller movements, right? But then also thinking about like how much the leaders were appreciated as well. And so that whole dynamic in terms of the movements and how you move people was really interesting for me this month. And so I think I sort of left it thinking about where I want to fall and what I want my legacy to be and what type of Black leader I want to be. And then also thinking about not comparing your legacy to that of a Malcolm or a Fred and you finding your own sort of pathway, right? It goes back to what Kenny was saying. Like a lot of people were getting jealous and they weren't willing to like craft and make their own lane, right? They're too busy hating. And so how do we as the next generation, whether it be as scholars, as media people, as if athlete, if you're an entertainer, whatever you are, how do you make sure you craft your own lane, therefore crafting your own legacy? So that's some of the stuff I took away in terms of my own Blackness.
Yeah, that's dope, bro. I really appreciate that. And I think the dev thing is beautiful. It's hideous, but it's also beautiful in the sense that there's a lesson to be learned there. It's like we know kind of what happened to like the Nation of Islam after Malcolm passed, right? After he separated and after he was assassinated. We saw kind of what happened to the Black Panthers as their leaders were assassinated. Um, and then I think about what's kind of going on with like the Black Lives Matter organization today. So it's like it's a death in a way. It's a death of what they stood for and what we believe them to be. But knowing that it doesn't have to crumble, right? I think that knowing that these organizations off to the side, and we'll get into this maybe next week or 2 weeks from now, but knowing that they're strong enough to stand on their own and still do the work. And it's like it's hopeful for me that like maybe we've learned our lesson 50, 60 years later. And I think that that could be beautiful. But yeah, that like we all have power, and it's like how do you want to be a leader in your community? What's your talent? What's your role? How do you best play that role?
Right.
So coming out of Black History Month, I think that this is just some great things to think about.
Absolutely. So T, look, I don't have nothing else, man. Like this has been really good. I just, it was a pleasure doing this Black History Month, all these different segments with you. And it's just like, I think, whether it be the highs or the lows, February of 2021 is definitely something that will be etched in our memories. And I would believe and hope to say that it's more good than bad this time around, right? And so with that said, we got our final spotlight of Black History Month for February of 2021. And for those of you who don't know, Spotlight is usually when we shine a light on someone in Los Angeles who's doing something really beneficial, impactful for the community. Y'all know early in our segment, we criticize people, but now we're giving them and showing them some love. So for the Spotlight, this month, because it's Black History Month, we're actually, instead of focusing on someone in LA, we go back in time on the day that we're shooting the podcast and we say, yo, what dope thing happened that pertains to Blackness? And so on this day that we're shooting and recording, February 24th, the first Black woman received her medical degree, right? And her name was Rebecca Lee Crumpler. All right. So she was the first Black woman to receive an MD degree, and she graduated from the New England Female Medical College. So we want to give a shout out to Rebecca Lee Crumpler. So many Black women doctors who we love. So many Black women doctors who are needed, because doctors don't be treating or diagnosing Black women right, and we're not gonna forget that or go the show without saying that. So shout out to Rebecca Lee Crumpler. We appreciate you walking so that other Black women doctors could run.
Yes, Miss Crumpler, Dr. Crumpler. I think that we
Yes.
think about all of the medical malpractice that's been done to Black people and Black women in specific. We need more of you. I think that her legacy is the only reason that we might be able to survive this COVID pandemic, right? Like if she hadn't set that tone, we would have many much less Black women doctors and Black male doctors as well. And that trust to take a vaccine probably wouldn't exist. So I hope y'all staying alive out there, staying healthy. And we just want to give those shout outs.
Absolutely. And I think I believe the Black woman who is at the forefront of one of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. Her name is Kismekia Corbett or Corbett. So we apologize if I'm not saying the name right, but Dr. Kismekia Corbett, we appreciate you. And we thank you for using the launch pad that people like Dr. Crumpler set up and taking things to the next level. We thank you for taking the mantle. We thank you for not forgetting your people either. Right. So yeah, thank you both. Look, audience, thank y'all for tuning in with us. You know what I'm saying?
With us, yes. It's been a pleasure. So Scholar P, you got anything else, or should I take us out?
Yo, take us out, T.
All right. Thank y'all for this happy, merry Black History Month. It's been a pleasure serving y'all. And like we like to say, keep the coffee
black.
We like our podcast, like we like our history and our women.
Black.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with us. And we will see y'all next week.